It's time for Mr. Fundamental!
Presented by no one.
The LA Clippers are one of the heavy favorites to win the title last season, but that obviously didn't happen. Not too long after, there are reports that Kawhi wants an upgrade at point guard. Now if you consider having a trio of Pat Bev, Reggie Jackson, and Lou Will, this is a pretty solid rotation to have. Of course there's more to this, and that's why I made this video, so let's get into it. The most obvious part is on the defensive end. I'm gonna refer to the Clippers and Mavs series a lot, because that's where I saw a lot of these issues. At first look, their guard trio performed pretty well in the playoffs. I mean, Lou Will struggled from deep, while Jackson and Pat Bev were limited to under 20 minutes due to sporadic play and injuries respectively. Still, it's weird to complain about players who were able to knock down open threes and having a Lou Will to lessen Kawhi and PG's load offensively. None of them are table setters that Kawhi is looking for. All of them have a score-first mentality, while Pat Bev is at his best spotting up. While typical stars would want the ball in their hands, Kawhi and PG are a slightly different breed. They first came into the league with a role of spotting up and attacking closeouts. They slowly developed into 3-level scorers that they are today, but those spot-ups are something they still love to do. Kawhi started the year acting as the Clippers' point guard, with all their injuries and roster construction. With players slowly coming back, he shared that responsibility and got a healthy dose of spot-ups. His spot-up frequency didn't waver a lot compared to the season prior, but digging a little deeper, check out his percentage of threes in the corner. That's a career low by a wide margin. The similar thing happened to PG, and it was the second lowest of his career. The worst part is that the corners are where both the Clipper stars are insanely efficient. Kawhi shot 41% from the corner, while PG hit 57% of his threes there. The reason why they went away from these areas is because they had to be the primary initiator of their sets. See how Kawhi is the one running pick and roll, while Morris is spotting up in the corner. As a coach, I would prefer that as well, but doing this as much as the Clippers took away Kawhi's bread and butter. Another reason why they're away from the corners is because of their handoff sets. Since both Morris and Shamet are average creators, they need PG and Kawhi to be on the wing one pass away, either for a handoff into a screen, or flip screen by Zubac to get Kawhi attacking downhill. This is not a bad shot by Kawhi's standard, but I'm just pointing out the lack of corner opportunities for him. Now if you get a pass-first point guard, let's use CP3 as an example. Then Kawhi could rest a little, spot up in the corner, and drain the three. These mid-post ISO is Kawhi's top option. It warrants a double team. The ball swings to the open man, but the Mavs recover well. Now their role players can't create, but PG was able to collapse the defense. Kawhi gets a rare opportunity in the corner, but here's a minor detail that's easy to miss. The kickout was off target. It takes longer for him to get into shooting motion. The defense gets a decent contest, and Kawhi had to beat the clock as well. Another minor detail is post-entry. As I said, Kawhi loves those mid-post ISOs, but getting him the ball there has been a tough task. Here's PG almost throwing it away. Once Kawhi finally gets the ball, he's already near the 3-point line. This might as well have been a perimeter ISO. Here it is again. There's no chance this was an on-target pass. The worst part is that Kawhi had a mismatch with Burke on him. This out of bounds allowed the Mavs to match up again, and the Clippers lose this advantage. Late in the game, they want to get the ball in Kawhi's hands. Quite smart for his effort to blow it up, but even I would want a better pass than this, and it almost cost them the game. So yeah, a good table setter at point guard could go a long way for the Clippers. Moving on to the biggest issue, and that's on defense. Jackson's reputation as a defender is all over the place, but after joining the Clippers, he has less offensive responsibility and exerted more energy as a defender. Lou is a capable defender, but his offensive game makes up for any defensive blunders. Although there isn't much they can do in terms of size and length, like Kid Gilchrist just bullies him in the post here. Lou and Jackson are both capable perimeter defenders and can make plays in crunch time. A close game between the Clippers and the Celtics. After a big shot to put the Clippers up 1, he locks up Kemba, strips the ball, and gets a defensive stop. Believe it or not, that is also the problem. The Clippers typically switch everything since they have so many good defenders on the court. For weaker defenders like Shamet, they'll be a little more cautious, and here, they get him to hedge while Kawhi recovers by going under the screen. Same thing again, Shamet hedges while Morris sinks. When the defense recovers, they don't give up a mismatch. With Jackson and Lou Will, they're a lot more comfortable with them switching on the perimeter. The last switch with Jackson on Zubac isn't ideal. It was the right move in that situation, and Jackson's effort gets him the steal. That confidence could also be counteractive. This quick screen doesn't warrant a switch, but Jackson steps up. I would much prefer having Morris on Luka rather than Jackson. Seeing how Morris didn't switch, it seems like it was a freelance by Jackson. It didn't lead to a score, but this just can't happen in crunch time. Late in game, the Clippers need to make a run. Jackson easily switches onto Luka. Sure, he misses on this possession, but this is a good high quality shot at the rim. Here's a series of plays late in game 4. The Mavs run a little action to force the switch. Luka is hard to guard, but Jackson just gets cooked. The Clippers then adjusted by getting Jackson the hedge, and it worked. They got Kawhi staying on Luka and got the ball out of his hands. Credit Hardaway Jr. for this tough shot, but you can't argue with the results of a non-Luka shot late in game. Again, Jackson does a good job to hedge while Kawhi puts pressure. When the Mavs do it again, the Clippers were able to avoid the mismatch and only give up a deep step back 3 with Kawhi contesting. The best part of this is that they'll get the ball out of Luka's hands or it'll force the Mavs to rush their offense. So it was very confusing when he stopped hedging. He gets occupied with the initial screen, which lead to the switch. The defense collapsed harder to cover for him and give up an open corner 3. Luo does something similar. He starts off with a nice hedge to turn down a switch. When Luka becomes a screener near the half-court line, in other words, a less threatening action being so far away from the basket, they actually switch so easily. I know there won't be much Morris could do either with this deep step back 3, but at least he'll have the length to contest. Whether they're good defenders or not, they need to understand that keeping Kawhi or PG on Luka was their best shot at a stop, rather than taking it upon themselves to do so. Now we can't blame it all on their guards. The Clippers' defense isn't the most consistent, like this miscommunication on a wing-to-wing screen leads to free throws. The initial screen error was covered well, but look at the weak side. Kawhi and PG messed up the off-ball switch, giving up a basket on the Kleber cut. This could also be a problem with coaching. Their series against the Nuggets was a prime example. They kept sending double teams towards Jokic, which plays right up in his alley when he dishes to an open teammate. Doc never made any adjustments or experiment with another defensive strategy, and that led to an early playoff exit. While Kawhi can't control the coaching or another player's defensive ability, he can control roster moves. I've shown how they could execute hedges to prevent switches, whether it's for Shamet, Jackson, or Lou Will. You'll barely see this type of defensive blunder when Shamet is running these, not because he's more athletic or a better defender, but it's the exact opposite. Shamet works hard to prevent the switch because he understands he's not the best option to pick up the opposing star player. Coaches would also deploy schemes to protect weaker defenders, whether it's sticking them on worse offensive players, hedges, or pre-switches. With the Clippers' limited cap flexibility, Kawhi understands upgrading the guard position would be tough, but all he wants is a smart player who can execute schemes adequately. Kai Bowman and Luke Kennard aren't headliners, but fits the bill of what Kawhi wants and how the Clippers could improve next year. I actually have my eyes on George Hill as a potential upgrade, but I don't know how the salaries will work in a trade. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. This was something I've been thinking about ever since their Mavs series, so let me know whether you think the Clippers roster moves and coaching change would have an effect on this problem or not. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.